So I'm Nancy Schultz, and I am the president of Sustainable Newton. And tonight we are beginning a new series with our board meetings where we present a topic. And tonight's topic is recycling. We've asked Matt Dolan from the Newton County Solid Waste Authority. He's our Newton County Solid Waste Manager. If he would come and give us update us on where we are in the county and in terms of recycling. And then if you have any questions, if you'll put them in the chat, Maurice and I will try to monitor the chat so we make sure that all the questions are answered. Also, those of us that have been on the board for a while know that we had a group of Georgia Tech students that worked on a project for glass recycling. And so we'd like Matt to update us on the progress of the glass recycling project that is with the city of Covington and potentially with other cities as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Matt. And then after Matt, we have Cameron Skinner, one of our members, who is going to give us a presentation on the Atlanta Recycles. He was involved with a chat with them, and he's going to update us on Atlanta Recycles. So we'll turn it to Matt.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Dolan. I am the director of solid waste for Newton County. So a little bit about myself. I came from Columbus, where I worked in solid waste for about 10 years down there. I started out as a stormwater inspector, had some experience with the industrial general stormwater permit, and which led to me getting on with the landfill. So I worked down there at the landfill for about 8 years. And while at the landfill, some of our waste diversion was composting, mattresses. We had a regional MRF where we collected single stream curbside in Columbus and Muskogee County because we were consolidated. And then we also brought in single stream from other parts of the area, Auburn, Opelika, LaGrange, West Point, and so forth. We ran that facility in conjunction with Pratt Industries, which, as everyone knows, is right down the road from here. So I was heavily involved in that program. Gained a lot of knowledge from Pratt, on how the recycling industry works, what items, bring value, what items maybe, are recyclable, but potentially, it wasn't cost effective. We also did some other programs down there, where we were composting. So we were trying to divert as much yard waste from our inert landfill. And we were always constantly looking for items to divert from our landfill because it was the last landfill that Muskogee County and Columbus would have permitted. So we're always trying to, find something every year that we could divert. If it was asphalt, concrete, we're the first landfill to recycle mattresses. We also did tires, metal. Right before I left, we had started a program where we were recycling glass. We were allowing citizens to come to our recycling center to drop off glass. We also had some drop off points with CHOA. It was actually Children's Healthcare of Atlanta in conjunction with, they worked alongside a company, basically donation bins. And so when we got items in the recycling center, maybe that weren't recyclable there, but could be sold at a thrift store, we would place those in those bins. And so those are some of the things that we did while I was there that we trying to divert waste. But basically what we did fiber. So we did mixed paper, cardboard, plastics, 1 through 7. And then we also did aluminum and steel. So basically almost, everything that could go through a single stream recycling facility, we took in, except plastic bags and so forth. So that's that's where I come from. That's my I'm a solid waste guy. I'm a landfill guy, and I have a recycling background as well. So here in Newton County, so we've since I've started back in February, we have started recycling mattresses. There was an idea of possibly just shred mattresses, but with the cost of a shredder and the maintenance, we looked at this is an idea that we did where we sent them to a facility up here in Atlanta, and so we are diverting mattresses now. We will be looking to hopefully do some other things like composting. I think the next wave in recycling is going to be food waste and what we call high moisture content waste, which is your biosolids that have to go somewhere, that come from your wastewater treatment plants, which are a good source of nitrogen. And those are some of the initiatives that EPD is looking to find, looking for solutions, and trying to keep that waste stream out of the landfill. And composting is a good option. Athens, Clark County has a composting facility where they bring in biosolids and mix with their carbon, turn it into a reusable product for people use it in their gardens, people use it on their lawns. It's a good material once you composted it. That food waste is another one. Trying to reduce our food waste consumption is a big deal to me. And finding somewhere to take it besides putting it in the landfill. All those liquids that come in food, and then also everything else that is once those liquids pass through the landfill, they cause more leachate for us. And we do throw away a lot of food. We all been there before, right? We've all bought salads and so forth, and we think we're going to eat them, and then we only eat half of them, and then they get moldy. So that's another one it's kind of I think it's coming. It started out west, and it's coming this way. But with the county, it's tough because we don't have curbside collection. With your cities, you in like downtown Covington and the city limits, where you do offer curbside collection for waste, you could possibly offer, single stream recycling and so forth. Those are some of the things that I'm passionate about, is, mainly just trying to divert waste from our landfill. So that's a little bit about me and, what my thoughts and feelings are on recycling.
So Matt, can you tell us a little bit about what the status of the glass recycling is? Because we've been working on that project with Sustainable Newton, and that was back in early 2022, spring of 2022, and we thought that we had cooperation with the city of Covington, and we just don't see where this has gone. So can you give us an update?
Yeah, so we have an agreement between the authority and the city of Covington in place. It's not signed yet. What the challenge has been is the glass the end user of the glass, which is Strategic. We're trying to get an agreement with them, and it's been tough trying to get some traction there with them. There's a large company. When I showed up, there was not an agreement, so we just took glass there, and we weren't getting any type of reimbursement. So we were just basically hauling glass there, and there should have been a rebate for some sort of rebate per ton, especially here in the last few years where there has been a high demand for glass. So we right now, I talked to Strategic earlier today. I went and reached out to them myself, and they had a call on it, and I suggested that we, the attorney for the county or the authority and myself and Strategic go on a phone call, and we discuss it so that we can get it on the agenda for next Thursday for the Solid Waste Authority meeting. So we're just
that Solid Waste Authority meeting is on October 20th at 5:30 p.m. Would it be helpful if we show up and show our support for that glass recycling contract?
Sure. I think something needs to be done. Either we enter into the agreement with the city of Covington, since we have something there, and we go ahead and enter in the agreement with the city of Covington, and we continue to work on the agreement we have with Strategic. Because I mean, we can still operate and take glass, so we might as well go ahead and try to get this, get one portion of the deal done. So I think so.
So, I have a question that I'm going to ask in just a moment, but I want to follow up with a question about the recycling. Do you know where the location for that City of Covington site will be?
Yes, ma'am. It's so I'm new to the area, but it's over by the City of Covington's Public Works site. So I know it's off of it's right off of I couldn't tell you, but I know it's near some apartment buildings, and it's where the Public Works has staged some of their equipment and material.
It's across from the housing authority there on Alcovey Road on Turner Street.
So, assuming that the contract with the City of Covington will be signed, and we'll move forward with that, when do you anticipate that collection taking place?
We could drop a bin the next day, and then from there it's up to the City of Covington to start, getting the word out and allowing the citizens to drop off their glass. The key is making sure we keep it clean. It has got to be, the City of Covington and so forth, and whoever's involved has got to go by and make sure that nobody's dumping trash in there, because what will kill it is if we take dirty glass to Strategic, they will charge us for it. So it's very important that we make sure it's not being used as a dump site. And I want to reiterate that it's very key.
So, now, will it just be for the City of Covington residents, or how will they control who uses that?
That will be up to Langston, right? I mean, I think that's his. It would be up to him to say who can and can't use it. I personally, I would think that it's at a central location. I don't know how they would monitor who uses and who doesn't. But if you want to recycle glass, I think you should be allowed to go by there.
And that was discussed in the Covington Sustainability Committee meeting, which Sarah and I were part of those discussions. The starting point was that they would not try to control it or limit it. If there were problems with people dropping off stuff, then they might do something. But there was not an intent to check license plates or have a tag or anything like that.
So, do you know how many days a week it will be open in the hours, or have we even gotten to that point? And Maurice, you may have that information.
Well, it's been kind of in a black hole for so long now. I don't know what the current thinking is on that. So
the most important part is that Thursday night, the 20th, we are hopeful that the contract will be signed, the MOU with the City of Covington, or the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Covington will be signed, and we can start. Matt could potentially drop a receptacle, then a bin the next day, and we could start having glass recycling in the City of Covington by the end of October. That is our hope. And I know that the cities of Porterdale and Oxford are really watching with bated breath, because they want to make sure that their residents have glass recycling accessibility as well. So, I think that it's my understanding that the more glass that we have, the better it is, because then the getting paid for that glass is going to be better for the economics of hauling this glass. So I think that it's an economy of scale that the more glass we can collect, as long as it's clean and the right kind of glass, I think that's optimal. I want to ask a question that was raised on the chat by Cameron, one of our members. And he said, Matt, can you talk more about your role as SWANA's Georgia chapter president and how you might leverage that network to improve waste reduction in the city of Covington and Newton County? And I think first you need to tell the group what SWANA is.
So we have the Solid Waste Association of North America. It is a national nonprofit, and every state has a chapter, and we basically we have a chapter, and I'm the president. I got on the board. I think it was 5 years ago. I started out as just a elected board member. And I moved my way up to vice president. Well, the president retired from his role in Camden County, and then he took a job with the Port Authority. And so one of the bylaws was that if you're retired, then you can stay on the board. But if you take a job in another sector, you have to step off the board. So about 6 months ago, I became president. And so, SWANA is great for, we have 2 conferences a year where we get together and we talk about issues in solid waste industry, new ideas, we network, we come together as a group. There's not a lot of landfills. There's not a lot of municipalities that collect and dispose of their own waste. As you know, Waste Management and Republic are growing every day, trying to gobble up landfills and collection companies. So, as a municipality, it's really helpful for us to come together as a group, and we lean on each other a lot with questions that we have about issues we're facing at our landfills and our collection facilities and our MRFs. So yes, I forget about it just because it's actually right now we're trying to plan a conference in Jekyll, and I'm doing a lot of work for SWANA for the Georgia chapter with the conference. And so we have our conference in November. And so I left that off as my background, but yes, I am the president. The best thing I can say for the city of Covington and Newton County is to utilize the resource that is down the road, and that's Pratt. I know it was brought up on how the companies in the city of Covington can recycle, and fiber, which is cardboard and mixed paper, but mainly fiber as cardboard, is by weight is one of the is the biggest stream in the single stream in the hierarchy of recycling, and it is important that you guys tap into that resource and try to get Pratt involved and try to get dumpsters placed at businesses, and so that you guys can start diverting waste. Single stream is tough because it has to be sorted, but if you can source separate materials, it actually there is some sort of incentive as for monetary gains there, where maybe you can offset the collection fees, and that's where I would start with the city of Covington and Newton County, and especially on your commercial side is what we call it, is trying to get somebody to come into town and be receptive of them, and really try to push source separated recycling at your in your commercial sites. There's probably a lot of material going into the landfill from a lot of these industries that are here that can be captured, and you tap it into a resource like Pratt, who is very very educated and knowledgeable in how to properly recycle, is one of the things that I would strongly suggest. And I think I gave out Mandy. She works for Pratt. I gave her contact information out in an email. I'd be willing to share that again. But that would be my suggestion. We can, I don't mind helping out any way I can. And I invite you guys to participate. There's the Georgia Recycling Coalition, which meets in St. Simons, and there's a wealth of knowledge there, and then also there's a wealth of knowledge at Swana, talking to other people who are in the recycling industry who come together. So that's the answer to that question.
Well, you kind of answered one of the questions that I had. And when we have been contacted by businesses and industry, small business and industry, one of the requests that they ask of us is to help them figure out how to negotiate the new contract, or how to help the city with their contract negotiations and their RFP for their waste management contract, with something that's going to include cardboard recycling for business and industry, because that's what we hear the most is, why do we have to have a separate bin? Why do we have to have a separate contract for or pay a separate fee? And I just know that when I've worked with Pratt, the amount of cardboard that you put into your waste stream actually will drive down the cost of your waste collection. So I think that is something that we will probably reach out to you over the course of the next 6 months, because that contract with the city of Covington is up for renegotiation probably along around March or April. And so I think if we can all work together, work with Langston, your expertise, those of us that are on this board, as well as the various industries who have reached out to us, I think that we could probably get a win in terms of what would work best for those industries. I want to answer some of these questions. First of all, let me say I've been corrected that the next Solid Waste Authority meeting is actually, the Thursday is October 19th, not the 20th. So thank you, JJ, for correcting me. I appreciate that. Okay, there have been some questions related to composting. And so I'm going to ask this one question. If we end up doing composting, how would that be handled in the unincorporated portion of Newton County? Would there be bins at the convenience centers? Would there be organic waste that had to be kept out of the single stream? What is your vision for how to handle the composting? You've obviously done it elsewhere, and how would you implement it here?
So Athens does a deal where where you can opt into they have a truck that goes around, and mainly they go around to restaurants, and then they allow the residents in Athens, Collier County to bring it to the landfill, and they compost at the landfill. I don't know if we have the property at the landfill. We'd have to find somewhere to do it. In Newton County, I don't know. It's going to be a challenge, but they have a truck that goes around, picks it up from businesses, and mainly restaurants, and then they allow citizens to bring it and compost their food waste at their composting facility. Yes, you want to keep the organic waste out of the single stream, because it would be considered contamination, along with glass and single stream. It's tough to like Athens, Clark County does glass in their single stream. They have to pay to take it. They have to pay strategic to take it because it's so contaminated, because it has all the little small things, small fines and so forth, bottle caps and so forth in it. So again, source separated is the key, along with food waste being source separated if we were able to do it here.
I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to add to the chat if you have any more questions for Matt. I'm going to give you just a few moments to do that, but I'm going to say that, Matt, there were 4 of us. I think my count is right. There were 4 of us that went to the Georgia Climate Conference, and we got to take a tour of Athens and their all their streams of sustainability. They're really ahead of the curve. We toured some of the food services and what they do with composting. We toured a building and saw how they did sustainability with the building and repurposing the tops of the building. So yeah, we'd love to be like that. So we're glad that you're thinking in that direction. And we are different than Athens, but it's just nice and we're smaller, and I mean they're smaller. So we think that we can be progressive in our own way. So anybody have any other questions in the chat? If not, I'm going to thank Matt, and we really appreciate you taking the time to share with us today, and just know that we're here to help you accomplish your job better. So anytime you can utilize us, you need us for any kind of outreach, we're available. And I'm going to segue to Cameron, who is one of our members. And Cameron, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and Matt, you might, I think Cameron will probably reach out to you as well, because we've got some ideas in terms of where we want to go as an organization with recycling and composting. So I'm going to turn it over to Cameron at this point.
Thanks, Nancy. Sure, I'd love to share a little bit about myself. I think I've met most of you between some of the events I've been at, as well as some of the meetings. But for those that do not know me, my name is Cameron Skinner. I've been a resident of Covington for a little over a year now. I became an official member of Sustainable Newton in January of this year. So outside of my membership with Sustainable Newton, my day job is working as a senior analyst for Cox Enterprises on the recycling and waste diversion team, which is just a really long job title that says I help support Cox on their journey to achieve zero waste to landfill by next year. And so I am obviously very deeply rooted in recycling and waste diversion and all things waste reduction, and probably similar to Matt, I like to talk a lot of trash. But I think today I'm just going to update you all on the meeting that Maurice and I attended last Thursday, which was October 5th. So we attended the Atlanta Recycles Community Group meeting, which is attended by a variety of local leaders in the Atlanta metropolitan area who are involved in waste reduction efforts. So the group really just met to discuss the areas of focus that will be included in Georgia's first ever primary climate action plan, which will ultimately inform the development of the comprehensive climate action plan. And so these primary climate action plans, I believe, are due March 1st of next year of 2024, and the comprehensive climate action plans will be due in the fall of 2025. And so for those that don't know, this work was catalyzed by the Inflation Reduction Act and the EPA's Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, which has provided funding to states and regions to develop climate action plans that work to identify ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So it's really a decarbonization plan, but as we all know, waste reduction is a part of that. And so the Atlanta Regional Commission has been charged with leading the effort for the 29 county Atlanta Metropolitan Statistical Area, which includes Newton County, and Georgia's Air Protection Branch under the EPD, the Environmental Protection Division, is leading the planning effort for the remaining 130 counties in the state. And so during the meeting, there was a lot of conversation surrounding the demand for additional hard to recycle material drop-off facilities, such as Charm, if you're familiar, in Atlanta, within the metropolitan area, and how we can go beyond just traditional recycling and focus heavily on reducing, reusing, repairing, and refurbishing. And so the group identified 5 primary areas of focus for the primary climate action plan, which include reuse, recycling, composting, hard to recycle materials, and landfill gas recovery. And I think an exciting recommendation actually came by way of Gloria Hardigree, who is the executive director for the Georgia Recycling Coalition. And she suggested that, the Atlanta Recycles group take the lead on coalescing groups of counties in the metropolitan area who would like to possibly apply for collective funding. So, of course, Sustainable Newton expressed interest in participating, so that we can explore additional waste reduction opportunities closer to our community. So I think, and Maurice Mike can chime in a little bit on this since he was also in attendance, but I believe, our next steps are really just to follow up with the leaders of the Atlanta Recycles group and to just align on any deliverables that might be needed from Sustainable Newton, any additional information, and really just to begin socializing these opportunities with, one of our local governments. And so if anyone has any questions, that's pretty much it. The meeting was only an hour long. But if anyone has any questions or, any points of clarification, like I said, either myself or Maurice hopefully will be able to answer those.
This group was originally, the Atlanta Recycles has been around for a while as a nonprofit, local governments, and a number of large industries. But last year they reached out to us, but a few other counties around the metro area with the idea of how do we collaborate and partner. So the meeting Cameron described is kind of like one of the possibilities here is rather than, like Matt said, there are things they can do in Athens that we wish, Clarks County, that we wish we could do here, but Georgia doesn't need 159 of those. So how do we figure out regionally? So I think our challenge is going to be, because at one point, Cameron, I know there was discussion and, we could do that. It could end up on the west side. And so we're going to have to look for collaboration from our surrounding counties so that we have a place at the table to make sure that it's geographically balanced. But it's great to have the opportunity to do it regionally for stuff that we'll never be able to afford county by county. And if we get the grant, the EPA grant, then that helps a lot.
So I do have a question. The grant, when is that grant application due?
That's a great question. So just full transparency, and Maurice may have some more information. This is my first time meeting with the group, and they kind of just went in head first. So I had to do a lot of background research on kind of like the context of the meeting and what was actually being discussed. But I do know that the climate pollution reduction grants, I believe those funds already have been allocated to the Atlanta Regional Commission, but they're doing implementation grants, right, Maurice?
Right. So there's the planning grant, which is what the Atlanta Regional Commission and Georgia EPD are using for their respective plans. And then as a follow-on to that will be competitive. Those are just awarded at the state or the metropolitan level. There's no competition. Anybody who applies and fills out the paperwork gets one, but the implementation grants will be controlled by the people driving those plans. And I think the grant process to the EPA is already open, but it doesn't close until I think it's April of next year. But the key is getting, the things we want to do into the plan, the phase one work. Otherwise, we don't stand a chance. We're not going to go out on our own and apply and get anything.
Well, this is great food for thought. And Cameron, thank you so much for attending that. And Maurice, I think that this opens up a whole new world of possibilities for us as a group. So I really appreciate that you took the time to check out I'm trying to read the chat.
Yeah, sure. It looks like Matt sent a link about an additional grant that is available through the EPD. And then I also shared a link that I feel like gives a pretty good high-level overview and summary of the climate pollution reduction grant and the primary climate action plan.
All right. Well, it looks like we've got some opportunities for 2024 to make a real difference. So this is very exciting, and we'll all have to work together with Solid Waste Authority as well as the different governments, because I would imagine they're the ones that have to implement whatever we work on. So it's something that we'll work together with them.